look up. No more running from the bad guy. I'ma stare him in the eye like, what's up?
Hello, everyone, and welcome to my story, my challenge, my story, my strength, 365-day challenge. I first want to apologize to you guys. I know I did not show up yesterday, and I'm so sorry for that. What I will say is, that yesterday we had this horrible tropical storm, and it knocked everything out. We didn't have any internet, any electricity until about midnight. And by then, just going to be honest, I was in my bed. I wasn't going to I thought about getting up to do it, but love you guys. But self-care is always something that I had to learn. And that was me practicing my self-care. So today you're going to get two, one now and then one a little later on if the weather permits. So I want to say again, I apologize. And I thank you guys for your patience with me and understanding, because life is going to happen no matter what we try to do to stop it. So first, I want to give a trigger warning. This episode contains description of emotional manipulation, betrayal, public humiliation, coercive control, gaslighting, and disregard for emotional safety and consent. It also includes emotionally graphic details of self-worth erosion within myself, invalidation, harmful relationship dynamics involving unreciprocated love and manipulation. If you are a survivor of toxic relationships, emotional neglect, or psychological abuse, please listen with care and prioritize your mental well-being, okay? So, first I want to ask a question like, how can you trust people when all you've ever seen is the worst in most people? Sorry, guys, today is an allergy day, so you're going to hear me snorting and sneezing. Excuse me, I'm going to. Oh, I'm so sorry, but hey, I have allergies, you guys. How can you learn to love someone? That's the first question. Second one is, how can you learn to love when the only experience with love you have is the kind that leaves you broken? So today I want to talk about a time in my life when I thought I was healed from my trauma and my abuse and all this stuff, but I learned I was still stuck in a mind frame that allowed me to be controlled by another partner. This story happened about 6 and a half years after I left my ex-husband, and I was so happy. At least I thought I was. I was living my so-called best life. No arguing, no stress. Partying, traveling. Doing things that I never thought I would be able to do, especially in the relationship that I was in before. I felt like I was more confident in myself and that I would never allow anyone, man or woman, to treat me like I was less than until I met him. He was everything I thought I wanted. He was visually my type. And in the beginning, he was really, really cool. But there came a point where things started to change and he started showing traits that made me feel like I needed to kind of back up. And after a few attempts to try to back up from the situation, I allowed a so-called friend of mine to convince me that, no, he's not like that. Everything's fine. He's cool. And I should just keep dealing with the situation. And eventually, it led to him and a younger member of his family, a male member, a cousin, brother, whatever you call him. They needed a place to stay, and they stayed with me. They came to stay with me. And at that time, I was like head over heels in love with this man. But I understood that we weren't in a place to be classified as a relationship. But then they moved in with me. I didn't know if he was going to, since we're not together, are you sleeping in my room? Are you sleeping in the room with my daughter? I mean, not with my daughter, in my daughter's room. She gave up her room, you guys. No one slept in the room with my daughter. Full disclosure. She slept in the room with her brothers. But she gave up her room, and I didn't know if he was going to share the room with his family member or sleep in the room with me. I never asked if he was going to sleep in the room with me or in the other room. But apparently, during the time, he decided that we were going to sleep in the room together and kind of just went from there. And things were okay in the beginning. But, he started to get a little beside himself. He felt like because I am bisexual. Sorry. He felt like because I am very open and proud about being bisexual, that he could point out women or let me know who he felt was attractive, who he was attracted to, this and that, because he didn't understand that just because you're bisexual, your feelings are still feelings. If you care about someone, you don't want to hear that they like someone else. So one night when we were in my car, we were all smoking the blunt. We smoke weed. It was in Alaska. It's legal. Keep your comments to yourself or don't. I don't care. We were smoking a blunt. And he showed me a picture of a girl that he had a crush on in high school. And I guess they found each other on Facebook. He was talking to her throughout the time that we were sitting in the car. It was me, him, and his male family member, and I'm just sitting right there, and I felt like I was invisible. It's like I was. I felt like he thought I wasn't there. Like the woman who not only let him but his family live in the home. You know, I was nothing, and I wasn't charging them anything. I was just trying to be a good friend at the time. And that in my mind, and then that day, he showed me that he had no respect for my feelings that he was very much aware that I had for him because I did express to him that I liked him. I never lied. He knew I liked him more than I should. I was trying to respect his boundaries, though. Now, what everyone doesn't know is that he was very affectionate with me. When we moved, he would cuddle with me, kiss me, hug me. He treated me like I was his girlfriend, but in public, I was just his friend, and he didn't have a problem saying that I'm not with her. Like I was somebody that he was ashamed of. Just kind of downplayed who I was or what I possibly may have meant to him based off of what he was showing me behind closed doors. So when he was doing this in the car, he was doing this to me again with a female he made better than me. He made me feel like she was better than me. So I'm sitting in the car, I'm sad. Again, I'm embarrassed because he's doing this in front of a family member who was also living in with us rent free. And we didn't drink a lot, but this night we bought a bottle and agreed that we were going to have a drink. We were done smoking, and I suggested that let's go in and have a drink. I really needed to lose myself in that moment because I was already in my feelings. So I was like, okay, well, let's just cut this and go have a drink. And his family member agreed and said, yeah, let's go inside. I'm ready to go inside too, but not him. He said, okay, y'all can go in. I'll be in there soon, but y'all can go in if y'all want to. I didn't know it then, but his intention was never to come in. His intention for sending me away was so that he could sit in my car and call this woman. We thought that he was going to come up in the house soon. So we're sitting there waiting for him before we pour our drinks because we didn't want to leave him out. I'm looking out the window, seeing, um, if he's still sitting in the car. But I'm looking out and I see him still in his phone. So I go outside to talk to him and find out what's going on. I find him talking to this woman, like it was just nothing, just sitting there smiling like she was everything and I was nothing. That was the first time I ever expressed or shown that I was upset with him, and I fought for respect. I hope that when he realized that he hurt my feelings, he would see it from my perspective and at the very least apologize for sitting in my car to catch up with an old crush, while he's, sitting in my car, and appreciate the fact that I was helping him, putting my child out to allow them to be comfortable. But it was the complete opposite. He was really cruel, telling me that he told me he wasn't ready to come in and that we could have had a drink if we wanted to, that he never said that he wanted to have a drink. He didn't have to tell me what he was doing. We're not together. And then he gave me a long list of reasons why. He never said I was nothing to him, but that's basically what I was getting off of what he was saying, a long list of reasons why I was nothing to him, why it was fine for him to do what he was doing, and all this other stuff. He tried to reason with me that he could and had the right to do what he wanted as a single man. And I agreed. But I let him know that doing it in my face, in my car, in my home, or anything to do with or around me, knowing how I felt about him, that was wrong. But he didn't care. And we argued for the very first time. We argued, like yelled at each other for the very first time over a woman who was thousands of miles away from us. I wasn't worth anything to him. And this woman who he hadn't seen in years was worth way more. And it kind of stuck with me that he was having someone who I didn't even know invade my life and make me feel like she was better than me and I was lost. Then to make things worse, the next day I go in the living room and find him on the floor talking to her like I wasn't there, like you weren't in my house. And then my children were walking around and they were already confused about the dynamics of our relationship. They didn't know if he was my boyfriend. They didn't understand why he was living in our home because that's not something I had ever done before. That was the moment I realized I was still that woman who left my ex, the one who didn't love herself, to demand the respect and the dignity he was taking from me. Because I should have just told him, okay, well, if you don't want to respect my rules, then you can do what you want, but you don't have to do it here. And I could have told him to go, but I didn't. because I didn't have enough love for myself. That moment, so to identify the wound that I have, that moment shattered the illusion that I healed. I thought I was confident. I thought I'd gone past needing anyone's validation, but when he disrespected me so boldly, so carelessly, I felt invisible. I questioned everything. Was I really strong, or was I pretending to be healed? Was I really worth love, or just a convenience until something better came along? I told myself I told myself I had learned to set boundaries, but deep down I was still terrified of being alone. So I just let him live in my home, sleep in my bed, and treat me like I was disposable in front of my kids. I believed my love wasn't enough to be respected, that no matter what I gave, my home, my energy, my loyalty, it would never be enough to be loved back. And worst of all, I convinced myself that I didn't deserve to demand better because he convinced me that I did it. He was reasoning with me to explain to me why what he was doing wasn't wrong and why I was wrong for feeling the way I feel and respond the way I respond. You know, I felt like that I should settle for whatever scrap someone has felt like tossing my way because, you know, being without him scared me more than being disrespected by him. So, one question reflection question. This is a reflection question. What past wounds have made you tolerate being treated less than by someone you gave everything to? And what do you need to reclaim? To what do you need to reclaim to never allow that happen again? So, what do you need to do to make sure that you never allow that to happen again? That's a question that you have to reflect on. Just kind of think about that. My mindset at that time was I'm only valuable when I am needed, when someone needs me. If I don't give everything to someone else, no one will stay. So, one of the things I had to learn was healing doesn't mean you stop loving. It means you need to learn to love yourself more than you need to be chosen. So, I mean, the reframing was not necessarily the thoughts, it was to recognize the difference between love and dependency, because people who take advantage of your kindness are not your reflections of your worth. They're reflections of what you are broken, the brokenness inside of you that they are preying on, and using that love to repair the brokenness that's inside of them. So that's kind of how I had to reframe that. I'm still working on that, because even talking about that now, I get those feelings back. So an affirmation that I have is I will never again shrink myself to feel seen. I am the prize, the peace, and the power. I will never beg for what I deserve to walk in. And that is something I genuinely believe in. And I say to this day, I'm not going to beg for love. I know what I do for people. And it took years. I'm still even working on it now, but I do know that I will never allow myself to go through those things in life again. So now it's time for the mini coping session. And this one is called Cognitive Disruption Ownership Technique. And it's a tool called Control Alt Delete Emotional Reset. This method helps when you're spiraling in shame, self blame, or confusion after emotional harm. It forces your brain to reset from panic to clarity by interrupting the pattern, replacing the narrative, and taking back emotional control. So here how is it good. First step is control. Control what's yours. Say out loud or write, this is not mine to carry. Then name what is yours, your safety, your truth, your energy, whatever. You name that or write it down. That's control. Alter the story. Flip the script in real time. When the thought says I wasn't enough, say that's a lie planted by someone who benefited from me doubting myself. Because that's exactly what it is. You've always been worthy. But someone planted a lie by either directly telling you or by treating you in a way that made you believe that you were worthless. And that is a lie because they benefited from you doubting yourself. And then delete. You need to delete the shame, purge the shame. Do a symbolic motion. Clap, snap your fingers, shake out your hands, or stomp your feet. Something, anything that you can do. And then say, I reject that energy. I delete it from my spirit. This grounds you and reminds you that no one else controls your emotional operating system but you. And again, this is something that you have to practice on a daily basis. This is not something that you're going to do one time and all of this is going to go away. That's the hard part about healing is consistency, is keeping up with a lot of these tools that I'm sharing with you guys so that you can get a better handle on your emotions, because that's hard to heal from. So I'm going to give you guys our 1 minute power empowerment challenge. Command your space challenge. That's what this challenge is. Go to a room where you felt the most disrespected or unseen, whether it's your bedroom, living room, workspace, anywhere, and speak your power out loud. Say your boundaries, say what you will no longer allow, and command that space like the warrior that you are. And if you're no longer in that area, say if you moved and got a new place and that house you've never do it, close your eyes and imagine yourself in that space. So this is an example. This is my home, my peace. No one who doesn't honor me gets access, period. Record it or write it on your wall if you have to. Like put it on a piece of paper, put it on a sticky note, post it on your wall if you have to. Claim your space with your voice. No more silence. Now we are at the point of our survivor spotlight. Yay! And this is Martin. Oh my goodness, her name is Diane from Blackish. Her name is Marsai. I'm not saying that right. I know I'm not. Marsai Martin. Beautiful, beautiful young girl. Very, very intelligent. Very, very, very. I can't think of the word, but she's a go-getter basically. And okay, so Marsai Martin may have come from a household name through her breakout role as Diane Johnson on Blackish, but remember behind the humor and the brilliance of her performance was a young Black girl quietly battling something invisible, crippling self-doubt, anxiety, and relentless pressure to be perfect. She entered the spotlight early in her life. By the age of 10, she was already working in Hollywood, surrounded by adults navigating the world that rarely considers the emotional safety of young Black girls. She wore a smile in public, but endured brutal bullying and microaggressions, often targeted at her natural features, her dark skin tone, her hair, her body. She was called too dark, too weird, or too opinionated, both in the industry and by peers back home. It chipped away at her confidence and created an internal storm that she couldn't fully understand or name at that time. She began to experience constant anxiety, second guessing her worth, and internalizing the hurtful things said about her. Even when excelling in her career, that's the word I was looking for, excelling. Even excelling in her career, Marsai wrestled with imposter syndrome and self esteem so low that she often questioned whether she was enough, smart enough, pretty enough, or talented enough. And yes, she was. Yes, she is. Not was. She's still here. Yes, she is. But instead of letting that pain swallow her life, she turned it into a creative revolution. At just 14, she became the youngest executive producer in Hollywood history with her first film, Little. Oh, I love that movie. She used that role not to seek fame, but to rewrite the way Black girls are seen on screen as quirky, powerful, complex, and worthy of joy. Off screen, she became a passionate mental health advocate, especially for Gen Z Black girls struggling in silence. She began speaking out publicly about anxiety and beauty based trauma, exposing how the entertainment industry can erode a young Black girl's self worth. She created her own production company, Genius Productions, to affirm and elevate the stories of Black girls who had once been made to feel small. Marsai's success isn't built on confidence alone. It's either Marsai or Marcy. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but we know who we're talking. I'm going to call her Diane. it's built. It's her success is not built on confidence alone. It's built on the radical decision to love herself in a world that tried to make her shrink. She survived the kind of pain that often goes unacknowledged. The slow, quiet erosion of self-worth in a world that nitpicks Black girls into pieces. She survived public scrutiny, internalized self-hatred, and constant pressure to be both palatable meaning digestible, something that you could deal with, and be perfect. But instead of disappearing into her pain, she stood up, she took a pen, and started rewriting the narrative, not just for herself, but for an entire generation. Her power is not just in her talent, it's in her refusal to be silenced by shame. She is not just surviving, she is reshaping the mirror Black girls are handed. So we honor you. We honor you so much, and thank you for showing young Black girls that they can be magical and still healing. That beauty is not defined by someone else's standard. That brilliance can coexist with vulnerability. Thank you for using your voice not to just entertain, but to empower, to remind us that surviving isn't always loud, but it's revolutionary. We see you, we rise with you, and we honor you. So thank you so much. Mwah! Miss Martin. That's what I'm going to call you, Miss Martin. So if today's story hit deep, it's because too many of us have mistaken pain for love. But the truth is, you are allowed to take up space, to demand peace, and to walk away from anything that teaches you otherwise. So if you did like this story, if it resonated with you, please subscribe to Empower Voices Finding Strength and Survivors to hear these daily healing challenges and more. On Friday, today, tune into my podcast, Insights of a Survivor, every Friday at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. Tonight, I'm going to have a special guest from an anthology that I'm a part of, and she's going to share her beautiful story, and you guys are going to just love it, but you won't be able to hear those inspirational words, that message of encouragement and upliftment if you don't tune in tonight, 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. And join me with my co-host, All Love, every last Saturday of the month for our show, Raw and Real, which basically is the same thing as Insights of a Survivor, but on a more unfiltered, unapologetic level. So this one dives really deep in this. Again, every last Saturday of the month, 12 p.m. Central Standard Time. And I cannot forget about my girl, Coach Kiss, every Sunday, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, where she discusses her real life experiences and how she heals in real time. Okay, so just always remember that we are here to help each other grow. That's what this community is for, growing, learning, and loving, and understanding that your story does not end in pain. It begins in power. See you tomorrow. Well, actually, I'm going to be giving you guys another show in a couple of hours, because this was for yesterday, and I'm committed to this, so I owe you guys two. You got your one, so I'll see you in a couple of hours for another powerful story of healing. I love you all. I'll see you soon, and please stay strong.
Heard you looking for a hero. Well, look up. No more running from the bad guy. I'ma stare him in the eye like, what's up? I know the journey got hard for a minute, but I ain't giving this up. Yeah, I got the heart of a champion. If I get